And those of you who are seeing in the chat here, we're going to move on to student government in a moment, but who we're going to speak to here, Jen Fazio, who's the director of student life, also posted in. I know some of you may have hopped on here, but if you'd like to, please check in for today's event. You can do so using the OCC app. And what that will allow you to do is you can check in there. You'll be able to rate the event. You'll also get put us on our radar too, so we can give you some updates along the line. But let's move along here. We have two more clubs we'd like to speak to. Again, we're going till 4 o'clock today. We have our student government. So our advisor for that is the director of student life, Jen Fazio. Jen, thanks for being with us today. And I know that student government's been meeting, so why don't you talk a little bit about what you guys have been up to?
Thank you, Neil. Thanks, everybody, for being here with us today. SGA has continued to remain active really all throughout our remote operation. And what we were talking about before was we just sort of kept our meeting time and continued meeting to discuss things happening at the college, but to also give people a place to come together. There was at one point, we would only meet twice a month, and the students actually last spring said they really liked the idea of continuing to get together weekly. So what I was sharing before is we just kept that going. What we're doing this semester to try and recruit students on top of the events that we're going to be a part of, we have turned every other week into just coffee talk with the SGA. And then our other weeks will be our meetings. But we've got a lot going on this semester because the SGA has been recruited as part of the students to contribute to the college's self-study process that we're about to begin in the coming weeks. And the way that that process, I know you folks probably realize that, but the way that that process kicks off is with groups that meet with our accrediting body, Middle States. And one of the groups, the constituency groups on campus that they meet with is the students from the campus. And so to kind of prepare for that, we've had meetings where we've already discussed the self-study process and, explaining that to the students in terms of how it lines up with the college's strategic plan and the goals, and how that's all been worked on, very closely in the past year with the new strategic plan that's coming out. So the student government students have had the chance to be briefed by that. Now, that's not only isolated to students in student government, but obviously we reach out to them to make sure that they're a part of that. Students still have the opportunity to be a part of college governance as well through SGA. But that has been challenging to get students out to the meetings in general, when you go back before we were remote. And so, now we're still trying to get students involved on those committees. We do have roughly now, 7 or 8 students who've been attending regularly, but we'd like to recruit more students so that students can be a part of what's happening on campus. So what's happening this semester? In 2 weeks, the SGA is hosting a campus community town hall with the vice presidents who have already been invited and are committed to attend. So we have the VP of Academic Affairs and the VP of Student Affairs who are going to spend an hour with SGA answering questions, discussing what's going on campus, and just really listening to what students have going on. We did that last fall as well. And so we're going to kind of keep that going. So that town hall is actually the regular meeting of the SGA, which is Thursdays at 3:30. And so the meeting on Thursday, March 4th is the virtual town hall, which again, we're going to get that out to everybody, and hopefully we can get some students to come out and really just hear what's happening. I just want to stress to students that that's a way that if you have questions or concerns, or you just want to know what's going on in the campus community, the SGA is a great way to sort of be a part of that. So I know other groups are meeting and building relationships like what you said, Mark. That's what we're doing as well. And with Rob, with the, the conversations that are going to happen between History Club and Philosophy Club, that's a lot of what's going on with SGA as well. We just sprinkle in some college policy and some things that are happening as well, and make sure that everybody's in the know with things happening. So, like last week, the SGA, they've been paying attention to what's happening, and I usually share with them as their advisor things that come down from the board. So I made sure that the students were aware that, at last month's board meeting, they adopted the resolution to make sure that tuition and fees wasn't going to be raised in the coming year, and the board's commitment to that. I let the students know that every month the board meetings are public. If they want to log on and just hear from the board and the folks who are discussing things going on campus, that they still have access to all that stuff. So it's a lot of me just passing on information to students to make sure that they're aware, but that's a lot of what SGA is all about. Another thing that I'm proud of for the SGA is they're going to be a part of that same week, actually. I think it's Monday. Is it Monday? Yeah, no, Tuesday, March 2nd. They're going to be a part of a statewide SGA meeting where the students are going to meet and discuss with other students from all around the state, the community colleges. We're all sending a couple of students to that meeting. So they're going to have an hour to just talk with their peers, see what's going on other campuses, and talk about things that are relevant to students in SGA. So that all kind of came to be through the student life directors group that I'm a part of, and we meet monthly. And we finally said, hey, if we're able to pull this off, why don't we get our students together too? Because it's so much easier now for us to all get together. I mean, my affinity group, we were lucky if we got together once a year, if we were lucky, because we're typically the busy folks on campus too. Everybody's busy, but it was just to find the time and to get the location that was convenient. And so this has been great. So we're going to try to get our students together with that as well. But that's just some stuff that's going on in SGA. The biggest thing is want to try to get a few new students so that we have that contingency group that will hopefully, you need a couple of students to kind of carry things from one year to the next. And that's what I'm most concerned about, is we were lucky. We had some students who returned, and I think we're going to have a few as well. But, a lot's going on in our students' lives, and we just don't know who we're going to have, come next academic year. So we want to make sure we get another good group in.
And before we move on to our philosophy club, and I did realize we have a club that we'll do after that as well. Our crew is here with us today. But I just want to ask, I know you're open to all sorts of students coming into SGA, and it's open to all sorts of involvement, whether that's the student that can attend a few times a month or a few, every week or whatever it might be. But what's the best way that they can go about getting involved? Is it, emailing you? Is it going through the app as well?
Yeah, actually, Neil, I think for SGA, obviously students can reach me anytime. My email, jfazio@ocean.edu. I'll stick it in the chat. But we have all of our meetings and events out on the OCC app. I make sure that all the WebEx links are out there. So any student could just go right when you log in. You have access to all the clubs and orgs there. And SGA is the second one listed, Associated Students of Ocean County College. There's a chat feature there, so students are posting to each other. And then there's also the club meetings, which we can get that set up for you all as well if you need us to assist with that, if you want to try to get it out to more students. Because even sometimes just putting it out in the feed is a good way to just see who you might catch.
Well, thank you for all the information. I really appreciate it, Jen.
Thanks, Neil.